Deciding between the 2024 Ford-Bronco-Raptor and the 2024 Jeep-Wrangler Rubicon 392, Wrangler's top trim, is a tough call, especially for reliability. Both are known for off-road prowess, but which is truly better depends on your priorities. Off-road capability. Wrangler arguably wins here with legendary off-road prowess, solid axles, better for rock crawling, and a factory winch option. Bronco-Raptor offers impressive high-speed off-roading with Baja-inspired suspension and multiple drive modes. Interior comfort and cargo space. Bronco-Raptor, more spacious cabin with wider seats and significantly more cargo space, both with seats up and folded. Wrangler, interior feels smaller and a bit utilitarian, with less cargo space. On-road performance and technology. Bronco-Raptor, more comfortable on-road ride and a modern infotainment system with a 12-inch digital display. Wrangler, bumpy on-road ride, but recently upgraded infotainment system with a large touchscreen. Reliability. Here, past data is a better indicator. Wrangler, historically, Jeep Wranglers have lower reliability ratings than Ford Broncos. So, the choice depends on what you value most. Off-road prowess and heritage, Wrangler might be the better choice. Comfort, cargo space, and on-road manners, Bronco-Raptor might be a better fit. Reliability, based on history, Bronco might be slightly more reliable. Driving from Los Angeles to the picturesque town of Lone Pine, California, we're having a deep think about what led us to this point. Who in the world approved dropping a 470 horsepower V8 into the Jeep Wrangler to create the Rubicon 392? And at the same time, who at Ford can we credit for the 418 horsepower Bronco-Raptor? The basic vehicles beneath these badass variants are already massively capable off-roaders, vehicles able to take you places few others can. Why the need for absurd power? Neither of these SUVs makes much sense, frankly, they're ridiculous, and we mean that in the most complimentary way possible. Of course, putting them on showroom floors involved much more than simply bolting in beefy engines. Both the Wrangler Rubicon 392 and the Bronco-Raptor aka the Braptor underwent rigorous and thorough development before emerging into the wild. Their chassis were modified to deliver additional strength and even higher boulder bashing prowess, while also making them supremely fast on and off-road. The Bronco-Raptor, for example, is a whopping 10 inches wider than its regular sibling, and the 392 has a completely different suspension setup than the standard Wrangler. We spent 2 days pitting these beasts against each other on sand dunes and technical trails, as well as on twisty roads and highways, to find out which absurd and absurdly fun SUV reigns supreme. The rivals. It may not feel like it, but the Bronco vs. Wrangler rivalry is a recent one, having only kicked off in earnest once the Ford was brought out of mothballs and reconstituted as a direct competitor in 2021. Even so, it already feels like Mustang vs. Camaro, BMW vs. Mercedes, or Ferrari vs. Lamborghini, a battle for the ages, and one in which even bystanders have partisanship. The Ford Bronco-Raptor and Jeep Wrangler 392 exist to please American enthusiasts who are looking to do crazy things. Fuel efficiency is not on their list of priorities, but having fun is, and both vehicles deliver. The Braptor's heart is a 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 with 418 horsepower and 440 lb-ft of torque, coupled to a 10-speed automatic transmission. The hardware is largely the same as found in the Ford Explorer ST, but the Bronco has more power in a different mission, necessitating a new tune for the gearbox. A suspension overhaul comes courtesy of the Ford Performance team, who also birthed the Mustang Shelby GT500, including new Fox shocks and unique control arms. The result is 13.0 inches of front travel and 14.0 at the rear, with ground clearance checking in at 13.1 inches. Our as-tested price was a not insignificant $77,015, above a starting sticker of $70,095. The 392, on the other hand, starts even higher than our test Bronco, at $81,190. Our test vehicle carried a $87,165 tag. A massive, 6.4-liter Hemi V8, Ford doesn't offer an 8-cylinder Bronco rumbles underhood to the tune of 470 horsepower and 470 lb-ft of torque. Its 8-speed automatic sends that power to all four wheels via a full-time active transfer case. In 4WD Auto, this Wrangler sends 70% of torque to the rear axle but can send up to 50% to the front in certain conditions. Several changes were made to accommodate the bigger power plant, including relocating the suspension mounts. The rear springs are 20% softer and the front springs 10% stiffer compared to the regular Rubicon, and Tenneco monotube shocks are fitted. So how do they drive? The 52 horsepower and 30 lb-ft gap between the Raptor and the 392 is certainly felt, with the Wrangler being much faster and more eager to pile on speed than the Bronco. The delta between the 2 to 60 miles per hour is a big 2.0 seconds, at 4.2 versus 6.2, and stays the same through the quarter-mile mark, which the Wrangler covers in 12.9 seconds. The Jeep backs up its numerical victory with a sensory one. Press the throttle, and the active exhaust erupts with a sound like a dragon breathing fire. The Raptor simply doesn't have the shove or the sonic chops of the 392. It's not slow, but it ain't that fast, either, features editor Scott Evans said of the Ford. The Raptor is also less engaging to drive, though only slightly. To the good, its width makes it feel much more stable than the Jeep, which turns in a bit more eagerly but always feels more top-heavy, and the Ford's ride is suppler. But that girth also makes the Ford more of a handful in urban environments. It's harder to see out of and, although the 360-degree camera system helps, more difficult to maneuver in park. The Wrangler offers superior outward visibility and feels like a microcar in comparison. Ultimately, though, on-road manners are a secondary point for these rigs, even if that's where they'll likely spend most of their time. It was time to head for the dirt. The cabins of the beasts. Hopping from the Wrangler's cabin and into the Bronco's is like swapping an iPhone X for a 13 Pro. The Wrangler gets the job done, but it lacks the latest technological polish, having carried forward basically unchanged for 5 years. The Wrangler's 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen, for instance, has tons of features, but its resolution appears lower and it feels tiny compared to the Ford's big 12.0-inch display. Both infotainment setups have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but the Bronco's offers a wireless connection. And although the Jeep's off-road maps are extremely useful, you have to activate its breadcrumbs feature yourself. The Raptor automatically drops little dots on a map when it notices you've gone off the road, a neat feature in the event you get lost. We also prefer the look and overall customization of the Bronco's digital instrument cluster over the Jeep's analog speedo and tachometer. The Bronco is also more spacious, with more room between driver and front passenger, and the rear seat feels like a living room next to the far cozier Jeeps. In the 392, as in all Wranglers, the driver's and front passenger's shoulders are much closer, and Ford puts its extra room to good use, serving up more cubbies and bins to stuff your stuff in. Lower trim Broncos can feel chintzy inside, but the Raptor largely banishes that perception. The hard plastics on the door handles are wrapped with soft leather, and the leather and micro-suede seats are a step up over the regular Bronco's lower-grade upholstery. For $77,000, you expect to feel like you're in something special, and for the most part, you do. The $87,000 Wrangler Rubicon 392's interior isn't any more notable than the one you'd find in a regular Rubicon. And the Ford's interior is significantly quieter than the Jeep's,